Thanks for joining us for another edition of our broadcast today as we continue to bring you coverage of the Virginia Beach shooting where 12 citizens were killed and several injured, as we bring you part 2 of our interview with Jason Nixon. Jason lost his wife, Kate, in that shooting. Jason, if I may ask, where were you at the time of the shooting? How did you find out? How were you notified in terms of more information? We talked to other survivors, and some of them had to wait hours and even days before they knew if their loved one was involved in the shooting. Where were you at the time?
I have a screenshot here if you want to see it on my phone conversations. I had talked to her at 3:42. We were talking about getting dinner because she hadn't shot for the week, so we were talking about getting some chicken and going to a softball game. My phone screenshot clearly shows, if you want to see that, clearly shows at 3:42 I had gotten done talking to her, and she told me, it goes, "Oh, I've got some ice cream in the fridge because I love you. I'm such a great wife." So I'm sitting there eating the ice cream, and then at 4:06 she calls me and says, "Jason, I've been shot. Call 911." And that's what I did. I didn't have a chance to say I love you. I didn't have a chance to say run. I didn't have a chance to say hi. I didn't have a chance to say anything. I did exactly what Kate told me to do because that's what I did. Kate said call 911, and I did. And that phone call, not to 911, was the initial phone call that got people there. That's what got everybody to go to the building too that day.
My goodness.
Was my phone call. And they proved that. They showed that to you in the briefing.
Jason, what in the world could you have been thinking at that very moment?
It was her voice. She told me I've been shot. She sounded upset. She sounded very upset. And when she got shot in the shoulder, she was able to call me on the phone. Which, and it eats me up because the night before I told her to bring a gun to work. And it eats me up so bad because she didn't listen to me. And I asked her at 4 o'clock in the morning when she made my lunch for me when I was getting ready to go to the guard unit to pour concrete that morning. I said, please, just put it in your bag. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And just tell them that it was just there, you forgot it was there if everybody said anything. She said, no, I'm in charge. I'll lose my job over this. I'll get in trouble. And I'm not saying that the outcome would have been different, but I know that Kate could have handled a gun, and she knew how to handle one. She was a registered gun owner. She knew what she was doing. We went out shooting all the time. She knew how to handle a gun. I mean, maybe it could have stopped all this. I don't know. And that's not my cause right now. My cause is to find the facts and the answers. That's why I'm not going pro-gun or anti-gun on this. I want to stay in the middle because I need to find the facts and the answers, the truth. And that's all I've wanted from day one. Nobody's been honest with me about anything from day one. The police came over here and told me she was shot 3 times. I can show you the autopsy report. She was shot 4 times, and she was shot in the neck and it severed her spinal cord. And then she's had bruises and abrasions on her hands and wrists. But none of that was told to me. I mean, you'd think a homicide detective would have been able to tell me that stuff. I mean, they had all the information. They chose not to tell me. I don't understand why they're being so secretive about everything. I just don't understand that.
How do you explain or rationalize the bruises on her wrist? Was she maybe engaged with the shooter?
Yeah, the detective told me she might have fallen on her wrist or something. I'm like, no. Kate had one arm shot. She would have been fighting with the other arm because that's how Kate was. Kate was a fighter. She was not going to lie down and let someone kill her. That wasn't Kate. Don't give me an excuse where she might have fallen down on her wrist and bruised her wrist. Come on. She got shot in the shoulder. She called me on her phone with her other hand. So that's the same hand she was probably trying to fight with. Don't give me those excuses.
So after you get the phone call, did you try to get to the scene? Did you try to get to building 2? Did you call other folks?
No, I raced down to building 2, and I parked in the mailbox office area, and I ran across, and as I got there, SWAT was just going in, and I tried to run up to the steps, and they pushed me back and said, you can't come in. I'm like, look, he's on the 2nd floor. I know that the shooter's on the 2nd floor because Kate told me that's where he was. And I knew he had a military background. I mean, first, I didn't think it was him. I thought it was this other guy at first. But then after everybody started coming out, I figured it out who it was. And it was Dwayne. And it just eats me up because of all the conversations that me and Kate had about this guy. And I knew he was National Guard. I knew it because Kate told me this a long time ago about him, that he was prior National Guard. And in the military, they shoot you. They teach you to shoot to the chest, one of the head. I'm taught that. You know, he was military trained. He knew what he was doing. Every shot he did was a chest, neck, or head shot. That's it. He was killing people. He wasn't wounding people. He wasn't trying to wound people. He was killing people. And that's what gets me. Is like, this guy had bought a bulletproof vest. The police said that. Okay?
But it didn't arrive in time for the shooting, according to the report.
And my theory is he bumped his timeline up because the other employee was fired on Wednesday and brought back on Thursday to be released. And I think that's why he brought his timeline up, because I'm pretty sure he had a police escort to bring him back in to fire him. So that probably would have made him feel like maybe I shouldn't do it yet. Friday might be a better day, and that's why he pulled the plans up on Friday. I've got 3 eyewitnesses that told me that he was in the corridors going through the exits on Tuesday, which that leads me to believe that he was given an ultimatum to be let go prior to that 3-day weekend, Memorial Day weekend. That's my theory. That's my opinion. That's what I believe. Because if you read the resignation letter, and he clearly states due to personal reasons he's going to resign, his direct supervisor says, I hope you resolve your personal issues. Just to be clear, you'll be gone by June 14th. Now, you worked for the city for 9 years. Is that the response a supervisor is going to give a 9-year employee? Not, hey, we wish you the best. We hate to see you go.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Is there anything that we can do for you?
Yeah.
Or recommendation letters? Nothing. Be gone by June 14th. That is a direct order. He knew that he had been given an ultimatum. He knew. That's my opinion and my theory on this. And only way you're going to find this out is you put people under oath and you put them on a stand. And if they perjure themselves, then they go to prison.
Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Call in now as Jason Nixon continues after these very important messages. So, you were there on the scene. The officers won't let you get close. You're watching all of this chaos.
Yeah, I'm asking all the employees coming through that knew me, and I'm like, hey, where's Kate? Where's Kate? And everybody wouldn't talk.
Did you see them begin to bring the suspect out, bring the victims out?
No, I didn't see the suspect. They pushed us out in the middle of the street, and we were going back to the mailbox office area. That's where they were directing everybody to go. And then eventually they brought them back around to another location where I wasn't allowed to go because I wasn't one of the employees. So they left me in the middle of the street, and then I had a police officer come up and start yelling at me, telling me to get out in the middle of the street. I'm like, well, my wife's in this building. What am I supposed to do? And then a lady officer came up to me, and she was very nice. She brought me to precinct 1. And immediately they started asking about Kate, trying to help find her. I showed her the pictures, the most current picture I had of her. What really upsets me the most is they knew that she was dead at 5 o'clock, because I listened to the police scanners from the USA Today reports, and even if you look at their timeline and look at the police timeline, things don't add up. Listen to the police scanners. It's all on USA Today. I can just Google USA Today and it'll show the whole scan for everything that happened that day. But when they said room 233 DOA, I knew that was Kate. That was Kate's room, 233. That's how I knew she was dead. And it upsets me so much that they couldn't be truthful with me. They had me wait till 12:30 at night to tell me my wife was murdered. And then they came in the room. It was so cold. The officer came in and he said...
Where was this room, by the way?
It was in a classroom. It was a junior high building.
Where?
I forgot the name of it. It's right off Nemo Parkway.
Okay.
It's a junior high building over there. Mm-hmm. They brought us in there, and we sat in the lunchroom area. And all the family sat there. And everybody that got notified about 12:30 of the deceased. They waited that long for the media to go away to tell us all this. That's why they waited us out. And I got so sick to my stomach, I threw up in a trash can when they told me. But let me go back to how they announced it. The police officer come in and he says, "Are you next of kin of Catherine Nixon?" I said, "Yes, I am. I'm the husband." And my sister was like, "I'm the sister-in-law." And he goes, "Well, your wife's been murdered. Your wife is dead." That's basically say. I'm trying to recall exactly the words. He said, "But if you have any questions, these people here can help you." And he goes, I have no further information for you," and spun around and walked out.
You are kidding.
No. And you ask any family member that, they're all going to tell you the same exact way it went down. You ask Denise, you ask Debbie, you ask any of them. Anybody that was notified that night, that is the exact way it went down. The only reason they had counselors there was because Daniel Holland was on a dinner date with his wife, and they heard about this, and they ran over and volunteered their time to be a counselor. They had some police chaplains, but they didn't have anybody there. They weren't prepared for this whatsoever. They didn't have a game plan. They didn't have anything written down. I mean, they did all this by the seat of their pants. And it just upsets me.
Jason Nixon returns in a moment. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. And our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your comments now. Call in now. And stay tuned. Jason, you speak as if, you mentioned that they didn't really have a plan. Mm-hmm. But again, in their report, in some of the news feeds we got, they had been planning for these active shooter situations all along. Okay. Even the day of.
Let me explain to you something. This is the Mecca Center of Virginia Beach. Okay? I saw them put bodies on surfboards and blue pickup trucks and run them back to the fire station. Where was the ambulances? I mean, you got Spa right down the road. I mean, come on. You were prepared for this? You had a reaction team? I mean, you weren't prepared for this. You put people on surfboards in the back of pickup trucks to get the bodies out.
But again, to give the officers credit, they arrived on the scene now.
Yeah, and they didn't have swipe cards. They couldn't get into the second floor. They didn't have cards. I think they took the card off of Missy to get into the building. I think that's what I was told by someone, that they actually took the card off of her in the hallway when she was dead, down in the stairwell. I think that's how they got the card. They didn't have cards to get in the building. From what I understand, their maps weren't even right. It was confusing. It was a death trap up there. That building needs to be torn down. You have 12 individuals that were murdered in that building, and you want to put the police department in there? Come on.
Jason, I do have a couple other questions I wanted to ask you, but before we get there, I do understand you have some major issues that you're concerned about. What are they?
Some of my questions are this: why was the shooter on a performance improvement plan, and what was the specific problems why he was placed on it? Why hasn't his employment file been released, as the city has the discretion or the law to do? Why was there no mention of delay problems, the card swipe system caused by the first responders, and did the delay cause more deaths and injuries? Was that delay in response? I mean, could they have gotten to Kate and saved her? I don't know. They couldn't get into her. They couldn't get into the building. I mean, they couldn't get into the corridor where she was locked in. Why was there no mention of delays in notifying families of the deaths and within 7 hours? These omissions create suspicions to me from the city that they don't want to talk about anything. They don't want to make the city look bad, and that's how I feel about that. Why did the General Assembly immediately start a state? Why didn't they start a state level investigation immediately? Why didn't the Attorney General come down and get the state level investigation immediately? Why do you believe the city of Virginia Beach can investigate the city of Virginia Beach? Does that even make sense to you? If you had an F-18 crash over here, which we had a while back on Black Friday, what was it, on the day before Easter, right? What's the first thing the Navy did? They brought an outside investigation team in, because you don't want to do an investigation when it's too close to home.
Well, to the city's credit, they said that's why they brought in the independent firm from Chicago.
Right. But the independent firm from Chicago has no subpoena powers. Anybody that interviews with an independent firm from Chicago has to volunteer their time. Also, independent firm from Chicago has no computer forensics team. They can't go in there and tell me if emails have been deleted. They can't tell me who logged into them. Okay, the independent firm can't even go into cell phones. So what is the independent firm really doing? And I'm not taking credit away from them because I think they're trying to do a good job. But the independent firm is basically, it's called technically a report. You take old information, you summarize it, you put it together and give your opinion on what it is. A report. An investigation is when you dig deep into it and you find new facts and answers. That's what an investigation is. What they're doing is a report. They don't have subpoena powers. How can you not have subpoena powers? And they were given very strict stipulations under their contract. And you'll have to look into that for further detail on that.
Well, we'd like to thank Jason Nixon for joining us today and being so candid. What do you think about his comments? By the way, Mr. Nixon will return next week for the final segment.